Good evening, Virgo. Um, okay, sit down. Not because I am about to tell you something difficult, but because what I am about to tell you deserves to be received from a position of stillness, of quiet confidence, the kind that suits you. Welcome. I am glad you are here today. There is a particular kind of person that the world underestimates consistently, not because they are less, but because they do not perform their worth, they do not announce it. They do not negotiate for it. They do not chase after people who have not yet recognized it. They simply live at the level of it, quietly, consistently, with a standards that does not flex for the comfort of people who are not ready to meet it. That person is you. Whew. And there is someone in your orbit right now, someone who has more material resources than most, more access, more options, someone who is accustomed to being the most sought after person in the room, the one people adjust themselves for, the one people lower their standards to accommodate, because being in proximity to what they have feels worth the compromise. And then they encountered you, and something happened that this person is not entirely familiar with. You did not adjust. I want to describe the exact moment that changed everything for them, because there was a moment, a specific one, even if neither of you fully registered it at the time, a moment where they expected you to soften, to defer, to let them lead simply because they were used to leading, or to be impressed in a way that shifted the dynamic in their favor, the way it usually shifts when people learn what they have, what they can offer, what proximity to them represents, and instead you were just you, warm, present, genuinely interested in who they were rather than what they had, and quietly, without announcement. Clearly, someone who was not available to be impressed by surface, only by substance. That moment stopped them in a way they are still processing, in a way they keep returning to, turning over in their mind, trying to understand why it affected them the way it did. The answer is simple. You treated them like a person whose worth was not in what they had accumulated, but in who they actually were. And they cannot remember the last time someone did that, because it is the entire center of what is unfolding right now. And it deserves to be fully understood. You did not shrink yourself to fit their world. You did not abandon your standards because someone with resources appeared and made those standards feel suddenly negotiable. You did not decide that what you require from a person, from a relationship, from any meaningful connection, was suddenly optional because the person in front of you had a compelling resume. You stayed exactly who you are. And that for someone who has never had to earn someone's approval before, who has never had to wonder whether they were enough for someone, who has never been on the side of the equation where they are the one reaching, was genuinely disorienting. Um, I want to tell you what is happening inside this person because it is quite something. And I think understanding it will help you hold your position with even more confidence. They are questioning themselves, not in a destructive way, not in a way that is harming them, but in the most productive way a human being can question themselves. They are looking at who they have been, how they have shown up in relationships before, what they have brought to the table, and measuring it against what they sense you require, and finding for the first time, possibly in a long time, that there is a gap, not a gap in resources, not a gap in status, a gap in depth, in presence, in the quality of attention they offer, in the emotional availability that you carry as a baseline, and that they are realizing they have perhaps been coasting on for a long time. You are making them want to be better, not because you demanded it, not because you criticized them, but because your standard simply existing, simply being lived, has held up a mirror, and they do not entirely love what they see in it. Whew, that is power, real power, not the kind that comes from having more, not the kind that comes from position or wealth or social standing, the kind that comes from knowing who you are so completely, so unshakably, that the people around you feel the gravity of it without you having to say a word. You have that. You have always had that, even in the seasons when you doubted it, even when people who were not equipped for it made you feel like your standards were a problem, a liability, something you should soften or abandon. In order to make connection easier, your standards were never the problem. They were always the filter, keeping out what was not worthy of your time and drawing toward you, slowly, inevitably, the people who were. I want to speak now to something that might be tempting you. In this situation, with this person, the temptation to make it easier for them, to soften the edges of what you require to meet them where they are, rather than holding the space of where you know they could be, to accept less than what you have always known you deserve, because they come with things that are genuinely impressive, and those things are compelling. And maybe you think maybe they are enough of a reason to flex. They are not. What someone has, what they have accumulated, what their life looks like on paper does not make them ready for you. Only who they are and who they are becoming determines that. And right now, this person is in the process of becoming. They are in the uncomfortable, beautiful work of rising to something because of you, because your presence in their life has asked something of them that nothing else has asked in the same way. Do not interrupt that process by making it easier than it needs to be. Let me tell you something about what happens when you hold your standard. Even when it is difficult, even when the person in front of you is compelling, even when part of you wants to just lean in before they have fully earned it, You teach them what you are worth, not through words, not through declarations, through behavior, through the simple fact of continuing to be someone who does not lower the bar for anyone, who does not decide that the rules apply to everyone except the person they are currently attracted to, who stays consistent, even when consistency is inconvenient, and people who have been around people who lowered the bar for them for years, for their whole adult lives, feel the difference of someone who holds it in a way they cannot fully explain, but cannot deny. They feel respected by your standard, even as it challenges them. Because deep down, even people with everything want to be around someone who asks something real of them, someone who sees past what they have to who they actually are, and decides that who they actually are is what matters. You are that person. For them, whew, I want to speak to what this questioning is producing in them, because it is not just discomfort, it is growth. They are thinking about what they bring to relationships beyond resources, beyond what they can provide materially. For possibly the first time, they are asking themselves, am I emotionally available enough for someone like this? Am I present enough? Am I consistent enough? Do I show up the way this person shows up? And if not, what do I need to change? Those questions are the most important questions a person can ask about themselves in the context of love. And they are asking them because of you. You have already changed this person. Before anything has even been decided between you, before the relationship has fully formed, simply by holding your standard is less than 0, 5 hash is greater than, simply by refusing to be less than you are, that is remarkable. Now I want to bring this home to you, to what this all means for where you are right now. And where this is going, you are not someone who settles. You have always known that. Even in the moments where settling felt easier, even when waiting was lonely, even when people told you that your standards were the reason you were alone, rather than the reason you were protected, they were always the reason you were protected. From relationships that would have taken more than they gave, from people who would have asked you to dim yourself to fit, from connections built on compromise rather than on genuine recognition. And now, someone with the material world sorted, who has never had to do the internal work because the external work was enough for everyone else, is being asked to do that work by the simple fact of your existence in their life. That is not ordinary. That is what happens when someone truly high value meets someone who finally sees it and wants to be worthy of it. Hold your standard, not as a test, not as a game, but as an expression of the truth of who you are, of what you know you deserve, of the life you have always been building toward. Because the right person will rise to meet it, not because you demanded they do, but because they want to, because something in them recognizes that what you are offering is worth becoming a better version of themselves to receive. This person is rising. Let them, without lowering yourself to meet them halfway before they get there. You have waited this long for someone worth the wait. Stay at your level. It is exactly the right level, and they are on their way to it.